I have the pleasure to have two special guests today. Linda Craig, she's a supply chain leader, and we also have Sabrina Craig.
I think really what it started with is I needed to figure out how to differentiate myself. When I started out, there was no word supply chain. I started in purchasing and transportation, in inventory management and things like that. And sort of like the industry came up to me, it came to meet me before there was actually a name for it. And the reason why I have HR in that mix of things, I think it has to do with processes and technology, but you really need people to make it happen. So that's why I added HR into the mix as well too, which a lot of people say that's very bizarre, but to me, it completely makes sense on putting the pieces together. So that's, I guess, sort of my background on how I got involved in this from a business initiative, is to differentiate myself first of all, and to find the pieces that go together to help you support yourself and differentiating yourself.
Absolutely. This is so inspiring. I really like the piece about differentiation because I think that's really what pushes you forward and really acts as a drive for you to know that, nothing else can really shake those convictions of yours.
Education is not necessarily the degree that you have. A lot of the education I took was from associations or industries or conferences and things like that. And it was education, the knowledge on these different areas that was important. If you see my resume, I did my MBA quite a few years after I started. I didn't do it right at the beginning, and I would say sort of as a capstone, but I never started educating myself along the way.
You have vaccine hunters making a difference as well. Could be a mean to really impact people and have that success. What are your thoughts on that?
So totally agree with my mom. It's not the big degrees that are the be all and end all. It's the learning on the way that she, throughout the years in between her undergraduate and her executive MBA, she did a lot of certificates, and any opportunity to learn, she's always drawn to. And though there's a lot of value being in a formalized educational space, not giving up on learning in non-educational spaces is so important, and also important in terms of the variety of life that you see. So I think with my mom, she was able to see the intersection of HR and supply chain in terms of how processes work. And for me, I was able to see the intersection of social media and health information, and able to use those intersections to make a really great community and help a lot of people.
I never really thought of them as being daughters, like, although they are daughters and things like that. They're my children, and I give them equal opportunity to learn. I also have a son in the mix as well too, but I give them all equal opportunity to learn and to advance and to find what area they can be successful in. I don't remember exactly where it comes from, but there's an expression, there's a crack in everything where the light gets in. And I know Leonard Cohen has a whole song about it, but the thing is that I think in this, before I knew the word supply chain, I saw that there was an opportunity, and that's where the light got in. And I think for vaccine hunters, Sabrina also saw the opportunity, and that's where the light got in so she could advance.
Oh, definitely. I think I went into university thinking, okay, university is the way to go. I think both of us are very much doer type personalities, where we like to have the practical experience and have degrees and experiences where we can put ourselves in the real world and get things done. So that was something that really inspired me. And also I think it was at least for her undergrad versus my undergrad, we had the opportunity to go into specialties that really satiated the curiosity part of ourselves, the areas where we were able to put in and find out how does this actually work in real life.
I can see that.
There was a long time where every 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., pharmacies were closing. They were saying, we have this amount of vaccines left, and we just don't know how to reach people to come in to get the vaccines. And she was always able to organize her life around getting the vaccines out to people. My mom has had a lot of experience with national associations, and having the ability to understand how these national associations and have her explain to me was really helpful, because we were able to reach a larger group.
When you talked about education and things like that, I think the one piece that is important in this whole mix, that I volunteer a lot for different groups and things like that. Vaccine Hunters is a volunteer position. So I needed to give her space to do the volunteer, whatever was required. And I'm not saying that, I just needed to give her space to help allow her to have that experience as well too. And I think that's an important part.
It's amazing to hear these examples, through these examples, how Linda has contributed to your success. You know, mothers are just precious, right?
I wish I would have showed her our processes earlier, and then had her, up to speed, on the same page as me, as us earlier, so it'd be faster for us, and I could use her brain power easier and better. And I think, some people have only so much bandwidth to listen to specific topics, and my mom's just like an endless well of patience in that area. And I think I could have used her earlier and her experience earlier.
What are your thoughts, Linda? Why do you think the communication could have been better?
Well, to be honest with you, I was a little bit envious of some of the things that they were doing. I'm not a Luddite, I am technology savvy, but some of the things that they were doing, it was way out of my area of expertise as well too. I know for one of the other, although I've never met her, one of the other parents for the Vaccine Hunters, they are not on Twitter or LinkedIn or things like that. And I was an advocate and trying to promote them through those, but there are other things that they were using. I was way beyond my ability, my understanding as well too. Like, kudos to them. They figured out different ways to do different things that I would have never thought of as well too.
It means you're still learning as well, right? Because that's the journey.
Yes, yeah.
I think that she's like a get it done type of person. She has endless amounts of new ideas, new ways to do things, new outer perspectives to accomplish things, and then follow through. That's something that I admire from my mom.
Now, whether it's mine or a teacher or something like that as well too, who either I say or they say, oh, she can't do this, and all of a sudden she's exceeded those expectations. So if you had asked me back in February that she was going to lead this national event in order to get vaccines across Canada, I would have said, oh, there's no way. That if you put the fence around them and say that they can't leave within that fence, just have to leave the gate open so that they can go on and exceed what mine or society's expectations are. And I think society's expectations are those Gen Zs, Gen Xs, Gens, whatever, they can't do this. Well, they were the ones that got vaccines information out where a lot of the other people couldn't do it. So by setting expectations, I think you have to leave the door open so that they can prove that they can exceed expectations.
And of course, having you around her, she felt the courage to gather that strength within her. So you definitely played a big role in her exceeding your expectations of her. So that's quite admirable.
During the pandemic, a lot of people are living under the same roof, and Sabrina is living under the same roof now. I think what has to change, I'm not saying that I'm kicking her out or anything like that, but I'm preparing myself for whatever the change is, where she moves physically, the next volunteer thing that she does or whatever. I'm preparing myself. So I think I need to Change is always uncomfortable, so I need to prepare myself for whatever that change is going to look like. The only thing is constant is change. It will not stay the same.
What do you think, Sabrina? What is the change that you're either looking forward to or preparing yourself to embark on?
During pandemic relationships, and then as we are in this new normal where life is a little bit different, that's an interesting perspective on relationships. I think like no fences are up for me. Anything's on the table. The world is my oyster. And I think that there's like lots of opportunities out there. I really enjoyed working in like the health and technical space. And I have some projects on the go in terms of inspiring vaccine hunters, but international versions. And I have contacts going in Australia and New Zealand, and starting also in other places as well, including Serbia and possibly Bangladesh. So that's something that I'm really excited about, and I'm excited to work with various international organizations on. Also excited for what other things out there is there for me. So it's an exciting time.
One thing, like I was like, Sabrina, come down for dinner. It's dinner time. I can't. I'm on a call. Okay, whatever. What call are you on? And she's like, oh, I was on with the World Health Organization. It's like, what?
It's exciting how these doors are open. Exciting how all these movements are, how they carry forward.
What I really draw from this exchange so far is how much important it is for mothers to support their children, right? Just generally speaking, because sometimes we run into instances where you don't have that support in that mother-daughter relationship, and it really does affect the outcome of things. So what would the two of you say to mothers out there or daughters about either pursuing avenues that were not explored before, or just providing that support? Everything, and COVID has shown us that.
I'll go back to something like pre all of this. Before university, Sabrina and I went and saw different universities and things like that. And one university, I'll say it remains
Unnamed.
Went with her to see it, and afterwards we went and had a coffee afterwards, and I said, oh, wasn't that great, and everything like that. And Sabrina said, no. I said, what do you mean? And she said, they didn't tell me about how they would prepare me for getting a job, and that's why I want to go to university. In my mind, that was a number one university, and she really had a good point, and I had to step back and sort of suppress my own ego and thoughts. She had a valid point in making that. So rather than me forcing her to go to that university, if I was to say anything to mothers, you have to listen to the daughters on different things that is important to them. And it was a valid point on what was important. And in that case, that was important to her. Her thoughts on it, as opposed to saying, yeah, that's great, and signed on the line sort of thing. But brave on her for having the thinking before on this is the criteria of what I'm looking for, and it didn't hit my criteria. I had not thought that far. I was just like, I love those buildings.
Sabrina, what do you think?
I also think like we don't live inside of each other's brain. I think like because I have so much in common with my mom, and we have many lived same experiences, still we have different perspectives on things, and maybe different goals. And I think my mom was really interested in showing me like how this is the student life you can experience, and this is so great while you're here, and that checked boxes, but it didn't for me, in my rubric criteria, didn't outweigh the career part aspect, or like the ability to have the practical experience during university. So I think like we came at it from different angles.
Perspectives, and using the brain power you have in your circle, and sometimes branching out as well, it's really amazing. And that's what we really try to also bring through mothers to daughters, biological relationships, and also spirituals, because I'm pretty sure outside of your mother you have people you lean on, right?
I have an older sister who had a really great experience, but her criteria for this is also during our university selection time, had really great experience, but realized that her life experiences, her strength areas were different than mine. And, I think she came at it as here are all these boxes that other people have, but here are the boxes that you can have for what you make your decision on. That was really helpful for me to, see what should my personal boxes be.
One thing Sabrina had the opportunity to have that I did not have the opportunity to have through high school, and one of the classes she had, one of the techniques they taught, she learned, and other people out there, I think it would be another good thing, is to how to advocate for yourself. And it's not just how to yell louder, but how to think through different things. And I think that has helped her significantly to advocate for the university or something like that. I think that skill has held her in good state for different things. And not to say I'm a little bit envious, I didn't have that.
How about you, Sabrina?
Having the understanding that other people have different perspectives was so helpful to me and my learning and my knowledge. It was specifically good to form that, and also good to realize that the people who are behind you and support you are really behind you and supporting you. So I think it's always good to have the perspective that they're available to be leaned on.
For me to see women strive and make an impact, it just fuels the drive I have myself to make a difference for women. What would you like to say to the community of mothers and daughters thinking of their biological sense of things and the spiritual one?
Never forget that as people have helped you, that you can help other people. I think it feels really good when you can share and mentor and be a support for someone else, but don't forget that those people around you are also there to be leaning on. So if you have troubles with your work or troubles with figuring out something in your life, they can be there for you and you can be there for them. That's how we all build stronger relationships.
I don't know what else to say. That was good.
I know. I mean, I feel like she resumed the whole. Yeah. It's a great pleasure to get to meet you and to see how much of a support you are to your daughter. It's amazing.
Thank you for having us.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.